This is gonna be a live stream intensive night. Welcome. I just did a long live stream over on Encoria. Check it out. It's important. It's important. And then I actually did a Greatest Man Live earlier today. Yeah, here's another one here to tee up something else I'm gonna do, and I'm also doing work. Really, just so you know, from now on, really I've been doing it, but it's more official now. Anytime I'm doing live streams, I'm also going to be doing physical work. Let me put it like that. Yeah. Because this is also an announcement today. The way I conceptualize my media company work is it's Onru Ikenga. What does that mean? That's movement work. That's work I do as I'm moving towards a goal. Because I have other work I'm doing as well. The way I work and conceptualize work is interesting. I've talked in the past about, and I even, really went into it on the live stream I did on Encoria. Check it out. It's called Anthony Drove Up the Rocky Mountain Road. Yes, about my deadbeat dad and me defending myself against his attacks. But anyway, um, I've talked before about how my work is different than people's standard and flawed societal conception of quote unquote having a job. Again, that's a very loaded and metaphysically flawed concept. But at the same time, obviously, I work and I have multiple jobs, I have multiple things I want to do. So, anyway, there's stuff I do people will be able to understand easily. Once you see it, you'll understand. Anyway, so I'm doing this because really anger is a work segment. Well, let me say it like this: whenever I want to do work and have it be recorded on camera, that'll be on anger. From now on, behind the scenes, which is a segment on here, is for me to document work I've already done. Yeah. So I'm gonna do an anger segment later because there's some work I want to conceptualize. I'm gonna kind of tee it up here, but I'm doing this to kind of break up the live streams on Encoria. I don't like to do live streams on one network back to back. In other words, if I'm doing back to back live streams, they'll be on different networks. You see. So say I'll do one on Encoria, then one on Chimuge's comments, and the third one will be back on Encoria. That's a standard pattern. So I'm doing this for that reason, and also I want to tee up my discussion of really how to hold criminals. Okay, this will intersect with issues of the so-called prison industrial complex and prison and policing. Okay, that's a very common issue to talk about in the realm of crime and also in the realm of talking about racism. The way I talk about race and racism is really it's a crime. It's a were those marks always down there? What does this button do? Oh, okay. Forgive me, I'm looking at what's on the screen. Thank you for all the viewers. I see I've registered viewers. Every view is a blessing. It's an interesting look here. What is this? Choose a game to stream with. Oh, I guess this is like you can play a game while you're streaming. Okay, interesting. Anyway, it's not really my thing. But anyway, thank you to all my viewers. Every view is a blessing. Kabernum Nogoha, calling in all my ancestors once again. But as I was saying before, the way I conceptualize racism is another crime. It's a crime against nature. And a lot of racism is against the laws of governments of the world today, but unfortunately a lot isn't. As we know, a lot of racism is unfortunately baked into government action, so we need to get rid of that. But what's the title of today's stream? This one. I said, modern prisons are not moral. Modern prisons are not moral. I wanted to get it short and sweet. I also wanted to be able to include the full segment name in the title, The Greatest Man Alive, right? So I'm just going to say two things about that. to support it. One, torturing people in a box is not justice. Torturing people in a box is not justice. Modern prisons are basically just boxes, and then we send people who've been convicted of crimes in there to get tortured. That's not good. And then two, modern prisons attract too much attention. They end up glorifying the criminal. There's a lot of glorification of criminals in the world today. That shouldn't be happening. We need to hold prisoners in a way that draws attention away from them. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. I've registered a comment. Thank you very much. Every comment is a blessing. I read comments at my discretion. These are Hand of God segments. Yeah, I just need to find my paper. I get new papers. Yeah, modern prisons are not ethical. But at the same time, obviously, you do need to hold prisoners. So you need something, but I'm just gonna say it here. This is gonna be rolled out in a much deeper way in upcoming segments. But I'm in favor of house arrest. Just put people on house arrest. And if for some reason you're arresting a homeless person and or the prisoner can't be held in the house they're living in, we should literally just have houses set aside for this purpose. And ideally, there shouldn't be crime. And all that means is that an ideal situation where there are no criminals, those houses are just either they're open as signification, or they're used for some other purpose. And then in the emergency, we put a criminal in there. And obviously, criminals have to be guarded. So just station guards around the house. Obviously, that's not a pleasant situation, but that's a far cry from what we're doing now. Just put them in the house, give them what they need to survive, and just make sure they're not hurting anyone. And then, if they want to become proper, they can do it there. It's very simple. There's a lot of hooting and hollering about what to do in this regard. And I'll be honest, a lot of discussions of prison reform, I think, go on too long. Just put them on house arrest and keep it moving. And obviously, because the conditions of house arrest are not very strenuous, if you make a mistake, which frequently there are mistakes in the system today, it can be corrected with minimal damage. If you falsely accuse someone of a crime and have them stay in their house for, say, a few days, that's unpleasant. But if you falsely accuse someone of a crime and you put them in a torture box, that's unforgivable. And that's what I gotta say. Anyway. Yeah. Literally, I don't know what the leaders of our society are doing. You create these torture chambers made of cement, bars. You're trying to create some sort of TV movie. You have a bunch of ruffians in there. You throw someone else in there. You have them rough each other up. You think that's justice? It's just sick. Anyway. And honestly, I don't know why no one has really comprehensively suggested this before me. I've just never heard this. I thought of this myself, you know. Because really, the alternatives I've heard people vaguely say we should make the prisons conditions more livable, which just is more complicated to conceptualize. One, I give that more in Subaru. Okay, I have some more respect for that, but still, it's doing too much to start there. Just knock down that cursed building where you have those ruffians in. To be honest, it's disgusting. And just house arrest, and then just build some other normal houses on the edge of town, and then if someone commits a crime, put them there. If you can't put them in their house, just sit them in their house. Right? That's just one thing to do. And in any society, criminals will be outnumbered by the non-criminals. Okay. There are different levels of being criminals, but I'm talking about being a criminal at the level where, based upon the, I'll guess, relative standard society, you need to be isolated. Okay. Obviously, someone can be evil, and unfortunately, it's not efficient for us to hold them. Say they just don't take care of themselves. That's evil. But you don't really need to isolate the person like that. There's other ways to deal with that. But if someone's going around violating people or worse, that's my general category. That person has to be stopped, okay? And there are other things that overall can end up being like a violation. Say you're robbing people all the time, or say you're going around and you're destroying property all the time. And I want to emphasize all the time. One crime does not make you a lifetime criminal. That is a criminal mentality, to stereotype someone based off of one act. People can have a bad day and recover. It's if they're consistently criminal, that's when you have to tell them to take a seat in the house for a long time, okay? So, and it goes without saying, if someone does one crime and is remorseful right away and wants to fix it, that's just nothing in long term. They're fixing it. And then it even goes beyond without saying, if someone is framed for a crime and or just does something that looks bad, but upon investigation is not their fault, they're not a criminal. Don't touch them. Anyway, again, thank you for the comments. Every comment is a blessing. So you have that. So I've heard about prison reform in terms of making the prison nicer, complicated. Just not really all the modern prisons, they should just be knocked down. We should pray on the land. That's just sacrilege. What was going on there? You can't reform every building. I'm the great reformer, but you can't reform everything. At some point, you have to send it to Ewu. So that's one thing. And the other thing I've heard in terms of prison reform is just letting the criminals run free. And that's crazy. This is not Gotham City anyway. I remember at Harvard, not to bring this up, I took a class on prison reform. I ended up learning some interesting things from it. We had a discussion about, there are many discussions, but there's one that sticks out. We had a discussion about what to do as an alternative to prisons. A bunch of people said that we should have no prison, and by that they meant we should have no mechanism for holding criminals. So the implications of that are they should be running free. Because if you think that, if you just think we shouldn't have a fail-safe mechanism, I don't know. If you think that when a criminal appears, you should just, somehow they'll magically just not hurt anyone, I don't know. So you just want criminals who do the worst running free? I don't know, that's criminal. Anyway. And then, of course, this discussion is always complicated by false conviction. False conviction, rather. Yeah. Then they mix all sorts of other nonsense in them anyway. It's the greatest man alive. I've made my point. Anything else is extra, but extra is good. Shout out to Rivera. Extra. Alright, what am I doing here for the anger segment? Just set it up here. Because I'm just going to outline my, what I'll call public appearance work stuff. Yeah. A lot of disgraceful things that go on in the world today. House arrest, then let the hand of God handle the rest. Yeah, we talk too much in modern society. Anyway, thank you very much. Anyway, you see the headline, Kala Kanu. See you next time. Add 10 registered viewers. The real number, the good husband, the people. Anyway. But the baseline one is 2.